Have you ever had an experience where an event, a story was presented to you? In a seemingly short period of time, your whole perspective shifted. You started to question things differently. You started to rethink your approach. Ultimately, you started to behave differently and possibly even continue on a journey that was around big transformation. My name is Craig Foreman. I am a lead people scientist at an organization called Culture Amp. Culture Amp does provide software and tools for organizations to listen to their organization, to gauge how healthy the organization is around its perceived culture, and how to take actions to change that. We do that through large data surveys, think of DE&I, onboarding, engagement, helping organizations understand that. But we also do it through those one-on-one interactions, supporting managers with their teams, both for performance and development. I love my profession, I love my work, and a lot of my journey to this has been my own journey, both my own growth journey, but also my own journey of understanding masculinity, what it meant, what it didn't mean, and questioning some of the stories I heard growing up. I had one of these moments. For me, it was in March of 2012 when I attended a men's weekend. I had never done anything like it. I'd gotten to a point in my life where I was looking for something, I wasn't sure what. I felt like I'd done all the right things. I figured my way out through college. I was in the military as a way to pay for college. I put myself through school. I moved to California where I wanted to be from Florida. I set up shop. I started a career. I met my wife. Ultimately, we bought a house. We had 2 children. Everything seemed like it was going the way it was supposed to. And something was off. Something was wrong. I wasn't happy. I was lost professionally. I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing in the world. And my connections had gotten small. I didn't have any connection to other men, really, for me. And my friends were my wife's girlfriend's husbands. So I decided on the recommendation of a few people to attend this weekend to try it out. Like I said, I'd never done anything like it. And that was the powerful moment. To go into a space where it was safe, where I could get vulnerable, where I could share some of my truths that I'd never shared, particularly in front of other men, and to hear others and to see those stories and to witness these men and to question my own stories about them. Now, that was the beginning. After that weekend, I returned home. They had mentioned that there were men's circles associated. I couldn't find one that worked for me, so I started one. And that was over 9 years ago. This circle meets every week. Every week, male-identifying people can show up, be seen by other men or male-identifying people, express themselves, look at things like accountability, integrity, how we're showing up in the world, and get that reflection back from others as a way to grow together and to show up in a way that is more in alignment with how we want to show up in the world and be in the world. It's been a powerful journey. It helped me come to my own purpose, which is to help the world work better by improving the places we work. But it's also started this other path for me of the power and the importance of rethinking this construct that can both give us a lot of power and ability in the world, but can also constrict us. And I want to start questioning those. So today, this was built on just that, of bringing forth stories. Stories designed to have you rethink things. Maybe have an aha moment. Look at things in a different way. And possibly start to show up and behave in a different way, in a way that I judge will make our world more healthy. What I'm not here today to do is tell you what healthy or unhealthy masculinity is. Like I said, it's to simply share stories. And today we're going to share 3 stories. The first is Sammy Grisafi. Sammy can bring a perspective and share a story around what it's like to go into the most masculine of worlds. She played in a world that most have left for men and masculinity, and what she gained from that, the beauty of masculinity, what she took from that, but also some of the challenges, and finally, how revisiting these stories and having conversations can change others and change lives. Second is Ashanti Branch. Ashanti's going to talk about the challenges of his life growing up, of the mixed messages around masculinity, what he should or shouldn't do, share some very personal stories, but also how those stories have transformed him in his work and how he now shows up to help young men do the same thing, creating those safe spaces where people can take their masks off and look at what they're showing to the world, what they're holding behind, and how that's impacting them so they can move through the world in a more healthy way. And finally, Max Masur. Max is going to share a story that few people can ever share. Going to paint a light on different sides of masculinity and the power privilege that comes along with it, but also the pitfalls and the challenges. We're hoping that these 3 stories will drive home that point and again, help all of us open our eyes and think differently, possibly, and move differently in the world. At the very end, we're also gonna have a section where we're gonna take some questions. We gather some questions virtually. So we're gonna answer those at the end and you hear from our speakers around that. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you taking the time and making this important. And we look forward to hearing from you on the tail end of how this impacted you and how maybe we can continue this conversation. So let's get started with Sam Safi.
When most people think of the game of football, we think of this: a barroom brawl, a gritty fight, tooth and nail, 4th and inches. Or this, right? The ultimate display of masculinity. I fell in love with football in 1995 after going to a free technique camp in my hometown. I was completely taken with the intensity of the game and water breaks. I really loved water breaks, as you could see. It became my dream to play high school football, run out under the lights, be a part of something big. It was a challenge, but after years of playing with the guys, I earned their respect. I did extra sprints to support my linemen. I spent extra time explaining plays to the guys who didn't quite get it. I wholeheartedly cared about our success as a team. But it was still a surprise when moments before our first game freshman year of high school, the guys voted me to be their captain. In the moments before the game, I was beaming with pride and excitement. I was about to realize my dream, playing high school football. And then this happened.
Going into the school year, the first game's about to start. I had been playing 2nd string quarterback. Brandon's in, he gets injured, so I go start warming up because I'm the only one. I mean, it's even on the depth chart in the coach's room that I'm 2nd string quarterback.
So she picked up a ball and she ran over to stand next to the coach, which is what they kind of did.
And I don't get called. And I'm on the sideline and I'm like, why am I not being called in? And then Brian Cole goes in and he plays. And he gets injured, twists his ankle. And I'm like, well, now I'm definitely going in, but I'm not going to be the idiot that goes over and warms up in front of everybody and then doesn't go in like what happened the first time. So I wait till everybody leaves and I walk up to Coach Mauger, like shaking, I'm petrified. And he said, Sam, I just don't have the confidence in you that I do in the boys. And I was crushed.
I seriously thought about quitting. I felt like no matter what I did, they're not going to let me play because of my gender. All that work just to sit on the sidelines. But then I remembered I'd been asked by my teammates to be a captain, so I have to return for their sake. Abandoning them because of my lack of playtime would be pretty selfish. So I showed up on Monday, ready to be the best bench warming captain I could be. But our coach had a different game plan. With the 2 other quarterbacks injured, I was his only choice if we wanted a shot at winning. And I started the next 4 games at quarterback. We went undefeated that season. This event became a flashbulb memory for me, one that I've benefited from my entire life. If you watch the documentary Open Field, you'll see what it's helped me accomplish. But even though that experience had continuously benefited me, pushed me beyond my own limits, I created this narrative in my head that Coach Mauger must have hated me, that the only reason I ended up starting was because he enjoyed winning more than he hated having a girl for a quarterback. Flash forward 15 years. I go back to my alma mater to be inducted into the Redlands High School Athletic Hall of Fame, and we had just begun filming Open Field, a feature-length documentary with a focus on my life in football. Well, the director, Kathy Curris, wanted to interview the coaching staff. In particular, she wanted to interview Coach Mauger in regards to the story you just heard, which made me a little nervous. The interview had a journey of its own. The director addressed the story. Coach Mager got defensive. So the director wasn't sure she wanted to continue the interview. I think Mager felt like he was being lured into this interview that was going to forever trap him as the bad guy on film. But then the director tells him what that moment meant to me, how it motivated me, how it changed my life. And all that bravado and defensiveness just melted away. He became emotional. He actually opened up.
Find out today your feelings on a couple of the situations that we were in, and your take on it now as an adult is very gratifying for me.
I realized when I finally saw the interview that he too was navigating the unknown. He was leading on the fly in the only way he knew how. It's important that we give people grace, especially when they're dealing with something that's a first. What's right and wrong is harder to discern in uncharted territory. As a football coach, the way you get most out of your players is with tough love. Coaches don't outwardly like their players. It's a tactic to push you beyond your own pinnacles and prepare you for the harsh realities of the game. And it works. Made me a decorated athlete. It served me in every aspect of my life, as a matter of fact, as a singer-songwriter, a performer, a speaker, a leader. Masculinity and the masculine way of motivating has served me well. But I also think about the weight Coach Mager carried all those years. The weight he would have carried for the rest of his life had he not done that interview. How one conversation transformed our opinion of each other. How it changed our relationship. And I think about how many conversations have gone unsaid. Beautiful relationships that were never realized. So as we navigate this conversation about masculinity, I want to highlight the beauty in it. Everyone can benefit from knowing when to flex their grit and when to flex their grace. For example, these players you saw at the beginning, those are women flexing their masculinity and thriving. But just as we women deserve the opportunity to explore our masculine side, we need to give men the permission to be vulnerable and give them safe spaces to do so. No one should be confined to only a few means of expression. It's going to take persistence from everyone, not just men, to break down these walls. If the director of Open Field would have stopped the interview with Coach Mager after the first 5 minutes, I would have only known this guy I created in my head when I was a teenager. But because she made it clear this isn't an attack, merely an effort to understand, I got to see the whole man and love him and share him with the world.
You know, when you're young and you start out, you get into coaching because love of the game, you know, and then it becomes love of the players, and you always love the players more than they will ever know.
Thank you.
Sammy, thank you. Inspirational is the word that comes to mind every time I hear your story and learn more about you. And I do want to say, so grateful that I had the chance to meet you. It was so random that we met each other, and I knew immediately that we were going to work together and do something. So thank you for that. And I think if there's anything I want to call out for me from that piece was drilling home, I think what you also hit on is just how fast the story can shift. I mean, that moment when the context, with just a moment of information, the context and his whole shift, and just letting that be a reminder. Like, I'm so grateful that you captured that on video, but let it be a reminder to all of us that a powerful story and a reshifting of our context can change everything. So thank you, Sammy.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's like, tell people, how can they learn more and be in touch?
I mean, just real quick, I mean, getting back to what you were saying about storytelling, I think what was really interesting about the whole process is, you know, usually you think of storytelling as being powerful when you're experiencing it, like when it's happening. But in our case, you know, storytelling was powerful in the process of it, right? So regardless of the phase of storytelling that we were in, that powerful moment occurred, while we were telling the story, while we were figuring out how to tell the story. But yeah, if you want to find out more about me, you can go to sammygersafi.com. You can check out my music there. You heard a little clip of it in my intro video, my newest single, The Arrival. Or you can go to openfieldmovie.com and check out how you can watch our film. Hope to.
Thank you.
on
Thank
our-
you, Sammy. I know we're going to do more work together, but really grateful that you trusted me and we were able to do this together.
Thank you, Craig. It was absolutely an honor.
Yeah. I really am so grateful we had the opportunity to hear from Sammy. I think for me and hopefully for others, the big takeaway is that number one, this idea of when do we flex our grit and when do we flex our grace? These are challenging topics, hard conversations. And some people with a little bit of grace can change their perspectives. And finally, those conversations, are there conversations that we maybe need to go back and have in our lives that could help others? Maybe they didn't realize the impact they had on us and how that can change them. So super grateful for the insight. I hope you check out her music, which is all throughout this entire production, as well as her movie, Open Field. You can see openfield.com. All right. Next up, a powerful story from Ashanti Branch. Personal story, as well as that transformation, how he's showing up in the world to help others, and how you can also benefit from his work. So I present Ashanti Branch.
I never wanted to be a teacher. I was going to be an engineer and make a lot of money. I became a teacher because I saw that my community was hurting without good teachers. I want each of you to be able to say what you need to say. We got to have a safe place to deal with it.
You know, my uncle was my favorite person in my life. He was the strongest man I ever knew. He could pick me up, throw me up to the ceiling, but I never hit the ceiling. I mean, I'm talking about the ceilings that were like the crackling stuff that would fall on your face if you got too close, but I would never hit the ceiling. I remember when I was around 7 years old, when my uncle came over after my youngest brother was born, and he said, you know what, I can't be picking you up no more. I can't be throwing you around. Like, you got to be the man of the house. You got to take care of your mom and your sister and your brother. And I remember my relationship with him changing that day. I remember like not wanting, I didn't want that job. I didn't want the job of a man. I just want to go outside and ride my big wheel. Can you go find the man who's supposed to be here to do this job? Because I don't want it. Definitely don't feel equipped to do it. But that was the first journey of my life of having to figure out what it meant to be a man before I was even ready. At 7 years old, if I was really being honest, is when I found that first magazine with body parts that I had never seen before. My first porn magazine. 7 years old. You can't unsee that. Well, at least I couldn't, because as soon as I saw it, something in me was like, oh, this is amazing. And then what happens when you are in your mind at 7 years old are seeing images that you don't even know how to process them. They don't really seem like it matches what I know about. At 8 years old, I was sexually assaulted at a camp. And I think what happened that day was a really difficult moment because I couldn't talk about it. I had a decision to make. Like, I know my mom loved me. I knew she cared about me, but I was wondering, like, could her love withstand that story? Could she continue to love me? Would she do something that was dangerous to somebody else? And then we end up with no mother anymore. I had to make an eight-year-old decision, which was the best decision I could make at the time, was to keep it to yourself. I mean, I had already been practicing being a man, which means you don't show any feelings. Men don't cry. Men don't have any emotions. So it was just another thing that I had to learn to do. You know, the work that I get to do today with young men and men around the world is talking about these masks that we wear. And now masks have a very different meaning because we're in these pandemics around the world. But what I know when we first started talking about masks, it wasn't our personal protection mask. It was masks of emotional disconnection that we often wear that you can't even see. In our movement, the Million Mask Movement, we asked people to, what is the things about yourself that you gladly let the world see? What's on the front of the mask? And what are the things behind the mask that you don't talk about, that you don't let people see? What I'm clear about today, even more than when I first did the activity with that group of young men, was that people all over the world recognize and understand the concept of these masks, these emotional masks. Me, as a man who lives in a world where it says that I am not allowed to show how I really feel all the time, therefore I have to make decisions about what groups and what places can I take off the mask with. And when we ask people in this work, especially young men, to experience what it is to take off the mask, they understand that there's a risk, that there's a vulnerability there, that there's a way of deciding, can people handle it? What if I tell them of this and they walk away from me? I had one young man at a high school say, well, you know what? I don't talk about this kind of stuff with my friends because they'll stop inviting me to stuff. He knew that there was rules. And if you break the rules of talking about real feelings, that then you can be ostracized. You can be put out to the side. There's the man box that we hear about, this conformity of what men have to do. And what I'm clear about today, as I get to do this work all over the world, and I'm clear that the story I just told you at the beginning wasn't something that I talked about at all. But I am clear that it is part of the journey of me recognizing my own journey of dealing with the mask, of how difficult it is sometimes to be open and vulnerable, because then you worry, what are they going to say about me? What are they going to think about me? Those type of feelings and those type of worries are happening with people all over the world, not just men, but we know it's happening with students, young women, and students who don't identify in the binary. We recognize that there is rules to play. The work that we have done and that we get to do with the Million Mask movement is having people around the world explore this mask that they're wearing. And the goal is to help them recognize that you are not alone. I wasn't alone at 8 years old. I had a mom there who was loving and caring, but in my mind, I didn't believe it. I wasn't sure of it. I wasn't willing to test out the boundaries of that love. And so I kept it to myself. And what I see with young people all over is the same behaviors. And so the work that we get to do now and the work that we get to take forward is about helping people all over recognize that there is so much more going on with you than anybody can see just by looking at you. There's so much more we have in common, but oftentimes we use our eyes to judge what we have in common with others and we miss it. And so in this work, and the work that not only we get to do today, but the work that we will do in the future, training students to also work with their peers, the Million Mask movement, peer mentoring, that is the work that is going to take us to the future. It is the work that has helped me to find my own willingness to talk about these masks. And so we're inviting you to be a part of that movement as well. You can go to the site and make a mask. You can go there today, www.100kmasks.com. Make a mask. Look at the gallery. See the masks that come in from all over the world. And then tell somebody about it. You get to be a part of the idea that for your own self first, do I recognize that there's more to me than anybody could ever know? Does my family know? Does my kids know? Does my colleagues know? Who am I willing to let know a little bit more about me? And I believe the more that we create spaces for us to be more our authentic selves, the more that we create a world where I'm enough. It's not about what I do, but me. I, just being, am enough. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. We look forward to seeing you in the future. Ever forward.
Wow, Ashanti, I'm almost a loss for words. I know that that was very personal, and I just want to say thank you. I've always admired your ability to really lead the way through the courage and the vulnerability. So first, thank you for that. It was such a beautiful share, a beautiful story. And I'll just reflect back to you, and I've said this, I think, in the past to you before, but You came on my radar screen long before I got to know you. I started this work, and your name kept coming up, and then I watched the movie, and just thank you for being such an inspiration. You've influenced me more than you know. It's influenced me to do the work, to continue to do the work. Part of what I'm doing now is through you, and it means a lot. And it's because of that vulnerability and the work that you do. So thank you for trusting and taking the time to do this with us.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it was the first time I've actually told it like outright. I normally talk around it or this thing, and today was an opportunity to just as I continue to invite more people to take off their mask, I am getting more courage to do the same. And I think ultimately, I just believe that through this work is healing, and everyone's not always ready. And who knows when your time is, when you're ready to let go of some stuff. And I think I've been working on this for a while, and I think I'm now ready to like let that power over me go. And now it's time to me to take back control. And I think that that's something that's so many layers of like my issue with food and eating for comfort, and like because I wasn't dealing with the roots of the issue. I wasn't and so when I talk to young people and they're like smoking and drinking and whatever, like to find comfort, I get it. I don't judge them, and I just try and help them find ways. So thank you. I'm glad to be a part of this. And this is my work, so it's almost doesn't feel like work. It almost feels like just an opportunity to extend a word positivity for someone who can learn from it.
I get it, and it's working. Hey, listen, while we have everybody, I know you mentioned the website, but anything you want to reiterate or anything else that's coming up that people should be aware of?
Yeah, a couple of things. So one is make a mask, 100kmasks.com. We have a new version coming out of the site really soon. We also have a documentary that our new work is being featured in. Is called Beyond Men and Masculinity. If anyone's on social media, you can follow us at Everforward Club. That's all channels at Everforward Club, and we're out doing the work. So join us and be a part of the movement with us. And our website is always everforwardclub.org, and we're looking forward to people being a part of this work. And so the documentary is coming out. Our U.S. premiere is is soon, and we're looking forward to people like learning more about the work that we're doing around the world.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashanti.
Thank you. Cheers.
Always so grateful to be able to partner with Ashanti in these sorts of experiences and events. For me, it's a couple things. One, Ashanti displays the courageousness and the willingness to be vulnerable, to put himself out there. And every time I see it, I feel more inspired to lean into vulnerability myself, the power of vulnerability and how the world sees it as courageous, which I think we just witnessed. But I also think what his work really speaks to is this idea of the masks we all wear. Number one, to be able to look at those, but what the power of creating safe spaces so people can finally take it down for a moment, to relax, to be seen, to show up, to look at these things. Because the world requires the mask sometimes. So how do we create those? And how do we support each other to look at those and make sure we're not carrying all this weight quietly and alone? Thank you, Ashanti. All right, now our third speaker, Max Massour. As I mentioned, Max is going to share insight and perspective that few others can. And Max is going to speak to what it all means from their perspective. And what's the power and the privilege that comes along with masculinity. So, here's Max Massour.
When women work alone at night, they are in this hyper-vigilance mode. They always look around and who's behind them. They like even grab their bags and closer to them. They work faster. They're like terrified of who's gonna be behind the corner when they turn. And even deciding on not wearing high heels on an evening to make sure they won't attract someone when they walk alone. Even deciding to cross the streets if they see like a man in the same sidewalk as them. And I know this because I used to be that woman until I came out as a trans masculine person 4 years ago. Months after I started my transition, I was myself walking on the street and I was behind a woman. And at some point, she turned around, saw me, and her whole body clenched, and she grabbed her bag closer to her and she started to walk faster. She even crossed the street to avoid me being in the same sidewalk. And this is where I hit me. I was like, oh, I am the creepy guy walking too close to her. And this is where I really realized the power and the privilege that I earned by coming out as a masculine person. Before my transition, I used to wear pin-up dresses, wearing red lipstick. I was playing the hyper feminine archetype. I was playing the script that I was given by society as what I think it meant to be a woman. And the first 6 months of transitioning as a masculine person, I played the opposite script, the hyper masculine. And I was using vocabulary like bro, dude, and even my body posture was like Al Pacino in the movies. I was like, hey. And until someone, a friend, called me in, it was like, Max, what are you doing? The way you behave is really like toxic masculinity. And I was like, that's the first time I heard those words. And it really, it's when you think about it, how big it is of how over just 6 months of being masculine, I fell into the power of over others, abusing that power only over 6 months. And that's how I can understand some men who don't even realize that. I used to be a woman for 36 years. And even me, when I had access to that extra power of being seen as a white man, I totally like gave in. But after I discovered and challenged the script of masculinity, I was able to create my own story and to switch from power over someone to power with others. And I also got that by being a parent. I gave birth to my kid before I transitioned. And I used to feel ashamed to talk about my pregnancy as being a masculine presenting person. Now that I'm really more grounded in who I am and proud of being trans, I just say that I carried my child and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it because I know I'm a better parent, because I'm my authentic self. I can show up as my true self. I can discuss feelings with my kid and I'm not gaslighting myself so much like I used to. So now what I do is with all that journey that I learned, my work is focusing on supporting other people so they can also create their own script away from the toxic archetype that we've been fed with. And I do this with programs and tools, and I help people step by step to reclaim their inner power because I do think we all deserve to know our truth and live in power.
Max, my gosh, powerful. Your story always inspires me. Incredibly powerful. Thank you for sharing. And I'll quickly reflect, Max, what you've meant to me in my life. I met you over 2 years ago, and in a short conversation, when you talked to me about leaning into the power of privilege and how we can leverage that for good, and inspired me to even add my pronouns to my LinkedIn profile, has had such a profound impact on my life and others. I mean, you've paid it forward. So I'm going to take this moment publicly to say thank you for the inspiration, for what you've represented in my life. And I know for a fact that your work has been amplified in numerous ways. I'm only one tangent. So thank you, and thank you for being part of this.
Thank you. Yes, I remember when we sat down at that WeWork space, co-working space, and we talked about pronouns for the first time, and you were like, "Huh, I didn't know about that." And now look at us, like yeah, I love working with you. It's always a pleasure to grow together, and I think we have this friendship intimacy that we like between two person that is really rare, and I'm so grateful that it's still growing over the years.
Me too. Well, look, I want to make sure everybody knows how to find out more about your work, they can amplify your work as well. So anything you'd like to share?
My commitment for past COVID was like I finally listened to my heart, and I'm writing my first book. It's a workbook, and it's 8 steps to reclaim our inner power. So I use all my knowledge and learning and teacher that I met, and I build those 8 steps on how to like first, like for example, one of the first steps is imposter syndrome, and how that's going over the imposter syndrome is a part of like giving in into our inner power and trusting ourselves so much more. So the workbook is called Wake the F Up, Wake the F Up, and 8 steps to reclaim our inner power. And all of that is on my website, masure.com. And I have webinars, and the workbook is going to be released this summer.
Great. Max, thank you again. I'm sure we will continue this journey together, but it's been amazing to do this with you, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
What a powerful story. Like I mentioned before, Max can provide that insight that few of us really can, but the value of that to come back and report back to us. Both the physical transformation, right? When you physically change, yet stay the same inside, how the world sees you, and experiencing that from the world, but also the behaviors and how we internalize that. How do you show up? How do you look? What's been bestowed upon you? And how does that impact both how you show up, but also how the world responds to you? And I'm really appreciative that Max is able to share that insight for all of us. All right, now we've come to the end of the stories, and we want to move into our final section, which is us taking some questions and answering those that were kind of out in the world, the kinds of questions that people are asking. So let's move to that section now. The first question is from Tiffany Castano, one of our Culture First members, and she wanted to know, she's talking about our D&I efforts, and the question is around breaking down these stereotypes, labels, stigmas, and gender roles around masculinity to better support transgender, non-binary, gender fluid, queer, and interrelated discussions of masculinity. So really, what I hear here, the question is, how do we bring this to our workplace and our diversity, equity, inclusion efforts to break down those roles? And I really think that Max is the person. So I'm going to bring Max up to go ahead and. Hey, Max.
Hey.
So what are your thoughts?
Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that question. That's something I've been asked a lot for the past few years, as I do some DEI inclusion consultant work. And the first thing I really try to bring is the empathy. And for that, training is really a good way to get people understand what it means to be trans and to be gender non-conforming. What are the moments in the day at work that we can feel ostracized? And for example, just the bathroom. If you don't have any gender neutral bathroom at your workplace, this is already a challenging spot for someone who is non-binary, who don't have the luxury to just be able to use the bathroom. So that you can't guess. You can't guess how someone lives, how someone lives an experience that is different from yours. So my recommendation is really doing some training around pronouns, around trans inclusion, to really bring a trans consultant, a trans trainer, is gonna share with the teams in the workplace what it means, and also, and we talked about that, Craig, right? We have this inclusion work around pronouns, and having pronouns used more widely in the company, in the email signature, having pronouns in everyone's LinkedIn profile from the company, brings this awareness that I realize people are different from me, And that is something that's it has to be learned, especially for cisgender men, to learn how to take space and make space, and to be able to have meetings where it's not always the same person taking notes, having this part of like sharing the labor of some of the usual tasks that usually for women, for example, and sometimes the leader of the meeting could be the one taking notes and making one of the right good thing I like to do is on meetings is like when there's a question to give everyone 2 minutes to grab their thoughts and write their thoughts on a piece of paper, and then share with the rest of the meeting, of the people in the meeting. That way, it's not always the more um, like the person who has the more charisma that is going to be leading the discussion. Yeah, so it's all about empathy and to be open to how other people live.
Yeah. And you mentioned the pronouns, and that was the thing I'd referenced before with the work you did with me. And I'll share that not only when I did that did it get a lot of traction on LinkedIn, but one of the most powerful things was when a recruiter reached out to me and said, Craig, I want you to know that we just had a candidate, a transgender candidate apply, and they said they saw your post and that let them know that this is a safer place. So it really, it means something, and it is powerful. So thank you for that. Let's go on to the next question. All right, so as you know, we've been taking these questions, and we got a question from Michael Ellis. And Michael Ellis' question was all of this work, and you know, referencing men's work and the circles, and this happens kind of behind closed doors. But the question really is, how do we bring this out? How do we do this work more publicly? How do we influence and take this thing that seems to be kind of private and put away out into the mainstream? And I'd love to hear your take on that question.
Yeah, I mean, what a beautiful question. I wonder if it's actually done behind the scenes or if it's pushed behind the scenes because it's hard for most men to deal with it. Like the work of men's work requires a man to say, I'm going to go to a place with just men to talk about real stuff. Or I'm going to not tell anybody about it because I think it's kind of weird. So I keep it to myself. So the one thing for the men who are in those spaces is to talk about it. And obviously, if it's helping you, you should share it. Two, I think that we need schools to be more aware that there needs to be concerted attention for giving young men, first of all students, but right here in this particular context, young men, emotional tools, language, ability to talk about it and give them word. How do you express what you feel? Like there's a quote that says, to a man that only has a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So if our boys think that anger is how you solve everything, then when they're sad, they turn it into anger. When they're afraid. So I think we just got to begin making more room for us to have the conversation and giving men and boys language around feelings. I mean, why don't we talk about it? We should, and we need to. I think that's the big work. And I think our work, we want to tell the world about it, but also, you know, that a lot of this work is done in nonprofits. So if you're a nonprofit trying to support the community to grow and be healthy, then how do you do it? I can't compete with the noise that all these big billionaire companies can make. They got power in so many ways just by a click and a share that could do more than I can do in 10 years of trying to share content every day. So when are we going to get the people who have who can move the needle? And I'm not waiting for anybody. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to sit around and wait. I ain't waiting for nobody in the work. But what I am saying is I only have 2,000 followers or 3,000 followers. What, you know, it's going to hit those people and whatever algorithm it may hit them. And hopefully they'll share it with somebody else. But it's work. Now, yeah. I think that's what it is. For me, I think is what the way it's going to go to the mainstream is we have to have more conversations like this. We have to begin more people who are willing to have uncomfortable conversations. And we have to begin to learn to be courageous in not only our leadership, but in our kindness.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll jump on this one just because I know something we share too, that we've both done some men's work or sat in circles. And I thought that was an interesting question as well. And I think there's a duality. I mean, I think there's space, just like there are levels of private work. I mean, it can, you know, creating a safe container doesn't always need to be public, but it doesn't, like to what you said, I think going there to do that work, to look at, to play with those emotions, to understand, so you can show up in the world as a healthier version, a healthier man, if it's around masculinity, and the work is working. People don't need to know all the time, did you go to your therapist? Did you go to sit in circle? And you know, so that's the first piece, is just do the work. get healthy so you can be more healthy in the world. That impacts the world. And then start to look at like I know I've done small things in the workplace that really have come from what I've learned from that. So I am doing it. I'm just not saying, hey, we're sitting in a circle now. But if I have a meeting, to know how to build a container and to create safety, we can still leverage that more. So I feel like it's two sides. Like it's okay that some of it's okay. Like all of us want some privacy to do really intimate work. Yeah. And that work, if you're working on you, transcends into the world if you've really integrated it.
You know, I want to add something to that because interesting thought, but I want to push the idea that because so many men are sitting in circles inside, meaning they're not talking about it, the men out there who may need it or benefit from it don't hear about it. Right. I mean, most men's circles, you don't just, I mean, some are out there on some meetups or whatever, but most of them you get invited. And so what if you don't get invited? I never added, when I joined my first men's team 10 years ago, I didn't even know that kind of thing existed.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like, until a man invited me, I was interested. I'm like, oh, I'll check it out. And I went and I'm like, oh my God, this is so powerful. So I think that in that same context is that, but if we're going to help more men find it, more men have to speak about it, right? Sure. To have your partner say, hey, you should go join the men's team could seem more like pushing you to something. Anyway, but I agree with what you're saying. I just think that part of it is I think the hardest part is like, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Well, here we are talking about it, and hopefully men are seeing this and wondering, and go look, you'll find. So
there you go.
Shanti, thanks again.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, next question from Rocio Chacon. Do you think social media is playing a positive or negative role in redefining masculinity? For example, I've seen a few parents in TikTok and Instagram that allow their sons to be free to be who they are, i.e. wearing dresses, allowing their hair to grow out, etc. They have a lot of support for this, but I know there are still traditionalists. Are we going in the right direction? I'm going to hand this one over to Sammy and see what Sammy has to say. So come on up, Sammy. All right, Sammy, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think, yes, there are a lot of traditionalists. There were a lot of traditionalists. I mean, my coach was a traditionalist. Didn't think that girls should be playing at first. And I think social media is just a reflection of our society. And I think it's great that there's a way for everyone to see different examples of how to live. When I was a kid, there were no no commercials during NFL breaks of little girls playing football. I didn't have the luxury of the internet to see what other little girls in the world, wanted to be a gritty little athlete. And now look at us. So I think social media is just kind of amplifying what's existing in the world. And I think it's fantastic that every little kid, can see themselves somewhere else. When I was a kid, my parents weren't even athletes. My dad was not an athlete. My mother was not an athlete. It was just in me. So I think that goes for little boys who want to grow their hair out and wear dresses. I think that it's important that there is visibility in that. And I think it's beautiful. And I think we absolutely are headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what you said. And thank you for taking that question on. All right. Thanks, Sammy. I hope we achieved our goal of leveraging story to provide opportunities to rethink things, to look at things in a new perspective, to question our constructs of what is and what isn't masculinity. I know for me, each speaker really pulled out a unique concept or piece, right? Sammy, through her vulnerability and willing to just go for it, the perspective she has, the power of revisiting those stories, of those conversations, and of looking at things from two sides. What's the beauty of masculinity and what are the challenges? Ashanti Branch, the vulnerability, the willingness to share, but also how he's transformed that into his work around the masks. How can we all support that? You can go to the website, you can do that, you can bring it into your organizations, but you can also look at ways to create safe spaces for others to do that. It's powerful. And finally, Max Masur, somebody who can shed light on perspectives from different sides that few of us can, helping us tap into empathy, compassion, but also the power of privilege. How can we leverage the privilege that we have, any of us, to help others, to support good and change, power with? not power against. So thank you. We hope that something was spurred in this for you, something that will take small action, one shift to help make the world a healthier place for others. And if you're looking for something now, you're looking for that small action, I'd like to challenge you, add your pronouns to your LinkedIn profile, to your email address. Through my experience, it's more powerful than you know. It's a small act that puts your hand up and says, I'm an ally, and it's safer here. Regardless, we hope you do something. Take some action, some movement. Thank you. Please stay in touch with any of us. You can reach me, Culture Craig. LinkedIn's my preferred spot, but Instagram, Twitter, all Culture Craig. I'd love to stay connected. I'd love to see where this conversation goes and how much more we can positively impact the world. Thank you again, and we appreciate your time.